Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Really appreciate Taylor Sharp for jumping in yesterday for me, but back in action on this Tuesday. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos, and pumped up you're hanging out with us. Because I missed the show yesterday, I feel like there's a lot that I need to get to, and will. Glenn West in his normal spot at 1:30 talking Tigers. Sharif Ishaq in his normal spot at 2:30 talking Saints. Unfortunately, at the end of this hour, we're going to go back to my August 30th SEC over-under picks and see how that went. I still got to talk about the Saints at 2 o'clock. I've got some thoughts on the coaching hires in the Southeastern Conference, A&M and Mississippi State. And coming up in 15 minutes, Mike Waters from Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard is going to join us. LSU is up in Syracuse, and it's not the Carrier Dome anymore. I don't even know who sponsors the Dome, but LSU's playing Syracuse in basketball tonight in upstate New York. So we'll talk to Mike Waters about this team post Jim Boeheim and what LSU has on tap for this evening. Obviously, LSU got a win on Saturday night in Death Valley. That's just routine. Saturday morning in Death Valley, LSU beat Texas A&M. That is always very satisfying for me, as you know. I think what made this all the more satisfying is that Texas A&M did everything they could do. That's a 7-5 A&M team that literally did everything they could do to try to win this football game. They won first half time of possession 19.5 to 10.5. They won the first three quarters in terms of time of possession 30 to 15. 2-1. They were picking up third downs routinely. 9 of 13 on third downs through three quarters. They converted third downs of 12 yards, 11 yards, 9 yards, 7 yards. They owned time of possession. Limited LSU's offense's ability to go out there and put up points. And while it is so maddening and so frustrating to watch a team execute a game plan against you nearly to perfection, it is far more satisfying, in my view, for them to do that, and then you pat them on the head and say, yeah, but you're not good enough. You're not as good as Jaden Daniels. You're not as good as Brian Thomas. You're not as good as Malik Neighbors, and that's why you're going back to College Station with the loss, and that's why you had to go change your coach. That's what it looked like to me inside Tiger Stadium. A&M's plan was excellent. Their execution of that plan was excellent. LSU's players are better. And that's what it came down to. And so today it was great news for LSU to see some national awards start to name their finalists, and for LSU to very much be in the mix there. Got the Maxwell that you're going to see Jaden Daniels up for. He'll be involved in the Davey O'Brien as well. But I want to start actually with the Biletnikoff Award, because Malik Neighbors was named a finalist along with two other wide receivers for the award that honors the nation's best wide receiver. And after the game on Saturday in the postgame, I made a statement, and we talk about this all the time. The postgame is very different in terms of emotion and time to marinate on things than my show on Monday, or in this case on Tuesday. Sometimes I change my mind over the course of 48, 72 hours, and I'm pretty open about that with y'all when that happens. In this instance, I don't think I have. Right after the game went final and I went on the postgame show, I said I thought that the Heisman was in Bo Nix's hands to lose or win in the Pac-12 championship game. I said that on Saturday. And I said I thought Malik Neighbors would win the Biletnikoff. Now, Charles Hannegriff on Eagle 8.1 Game Day comes on following me on Saturdays, before me during the week, and he said the exact opposite. He thought that Jaden Daniels was the favorite to win the Heisman, and that Malik Neighbors was going to run second to Marvin Harrison in terms of the Biletnikoff. And I fully understand the case for Marvin Harrison. I fully understand the case for Malik Neighbors. And I'll lay those out, I think, pretty objectively. There's certainly subjective feelings in them, but if you're going off statistics, it's a runaway. Malik Neighbors has 19 more catches. He leads the nation in receiving yards by more than 300 more than Marvin Harrison. He's got more touchdowns. He averages more yards per game. Even if you look at some of the lesser games they played, Marvin Harrison had 4 games where he did not have 35 yards receiving. Malik Neighbors had 1 game where he had sub 85 yards receiving. Now, Malik went over 100 yards 9 times. Marvin Harrison went over 100 yards 8 times. Both guys were sensational all year long. But by the numbers, Malik Neighbors would win this award. But it doesn't always come down to numbers. And I'm about to list off some of the last 5 years, and I'll tell you how the statistics lined up. And I'll tell you that these statistics are not 100% correct because they don't take into account games played after the award. These do take into account statistics that were given out after the award was given out. So if you won the award and then you went out and played in a playoff game or bowl game or whatever it was, those are going to be added in, and they weren't taken into account when the award was given out. So I realize there's a little bit of a flaw in the award. But like Jalen Hyatt last year, he didn't lead the country in anything. Jordan Addison won it in 2021. He led in touchdowns, not yards, not catches. Devontae Smith led in everything. We know that. Jamar Chase led in yards and touchdowns. He did not lead in receptions. And then Jerry Jeudy didn't lead in anything in 2018. So this award is not solely given out based on, okay, who led the country in yards, who led the country in touchdowns. That's the award winner. The voters are going to take into account performance in big games, highlight reel plays, name recognition, potentially, draft prospects, because you're looking to award it to the nation's most outstanding wide receiver. And of course, Marvin Harrison's year last year and his name are going to give him a leg up. But Malik did have 1,000 yards last year. It's not like no one had ever heard of Malik Neighbors entering the season. He was thought of as maybe the top wide receiver in the Southeastern Conference entering this year. Certainly felt that way in media days. And it's not like he plays for Eastern Washington or Texas San Antonio. But he does have a potential Heisman winner throwing him the football, and Marvin Harrison's got Kyle McCord. So if you want to tell me, okay, Marvin Harrison's got a subpar quarterback in comparison to Malik Neighbors, that's going to ding your numbers a little bit. He's the most talented wide receiver in the country. He's 1 touchdown off the lead. He averages 100 yards a game and went over 100 8 times this year. And he's going to be the first wide receiver taken off the board. I think he's the best receiver in the country. I will give him my vote. I'm not going to throw a fit over that. I'm really not. That's a reasonable explanation. And I just told you I thought that Bo Nix would win the Heisman. But I think in this instance, Malik should win this award. 19 more catches, 335 more yards, more touchdowns, and doing it with every bit as much athletic prowess as Marvin Harrison does it. Look at the touchdowns he's making in the back of the end zone with those leaping catches. He's burning Alabama over the top on that first touchdown drive in the biggest game LSU played all year. Everything subjective about what Marvin Harrison does, I think Malik Neighbors matches. And if you're going to tell me you sit right here, you know that Marvin Harrison is a better pro and a better college player than Malik Neighbors, I would suggest that you don't. I do know that objectively Malik Neighbors had a better statistical season. I think he's going to win it. I think that what LSU created in terms of their notoriety this year and everyone's respect for how absolutely spectacular this offense was, I think that points it towards Malik Neighbors. Now, if you don't ever look at a statistic and you're just voting on the way it's felt to you all year long, and you liked watching Big Noon Kickoff, and you like Maserati Marv, and you want to hear Gus Johnson give it to you, then you'll probably vote for Marvin Harrison. I think it's going to be really close, but I think Malik's going to win it. We've got 2 weeks to dive into this, and we'll see how things play out. But I think LSU's offense created so much notoriety, and Malik was right in the middle of that I think he will win it. I'm still very skeptical about the Heisman Trophy to this point. I like 8's odds to win this trophy in Florida in a couple of weeks, and I certainly hope that he does. Either way, he's become an all-timer at LSU with his performance this year, really last year, and what he's put together in a career. He goes over the career receptions mark on Saturday night. He will go over the yards mark and then probably take a seat in the bowl game. Fantastic career, and I hope that it's capped off with the award that he, in my opinion, deserves in a really, really fierce competition. So that's our start here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Still plenty to get to. I can't wait till y'all hear my SEC over-under win totals from August. We'll see how that went at the end of this hour. Glenn West with us in 15 minutes talking Tigers. When we come back, Mike Waters from Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard gets you ready for LSU in the Qs tonight in the SEC ACC Challenge. This is the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, certainly a champion of Louisiana. I love telling you about Marucci Sports because we've had the opportunity to just watch this company grow over the past decade plus, and started right here in Baton Rouge in a backyard, and they've developed into a leader in baseball technology. And what that does is it brings a lot of people to our state, whether it's people in professional baseball, whether it's people that are attempting to learn more about baseball or are very, very talented and want to work in this baseball performance lab that Marucci has cultivated right here in our state. Plus, they're a tourism boon to us each and every year when they host the Marucci World Series, and thousands of youth athletes, parents, coaches show up, help the capital city out with some tourism dollars. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana like them, go to LWCC.com and nominate them. Champion of Louisiana program has been such a great partner here at the Hunt Palmer Show, and we hope that it continues to grow and grow. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. a poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Our weekly chat with Sean Salisbury. Is Derek Carr salvageable? We'll talk about it Tuesday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, moving right along here. I was talking to Chris Blair on Saturday and told him I think that it's going to be a little chilly in Baton Rouge on Tuesday, going to be about 61, but I think in Syracuse it's like 30. So that's just unfit for any human activity whatsoever. Thankfully, they play basketball inside up there in Syracuse, New York. And that's where LSU will take on the Orange tonight in the SEC ACC Challenge. Covering the Qs and joining us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline is our guest Mike Waters from Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard. Mike, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
Hunt, I'm doing good. And when you said 30 degrees, that's today's high.
No. That's
it's currently 27.
No. That's unacceptable. It's unfit for human activity. You got to pack it in for the next 5 months if you live up there, in my opinion. You can't even go outdoors one time. But I'm glad y'all can handle it because I certainly cannot under any circumstances. So let's talk a little basketball, Mike. Obviously, everyone understands that Jim Boeheim was Syracuse basketball for almost half a century, 47 years. He steps away, and Adrian Autry takes over. What has that transition been like?
Transition has been interesting so far. Adrian Autry obviously is in the process of turning the program over and making it into the kind of system that he wants to play. They're still going to play a little of the 2-3 zone that they played 100% of the time under Jim Boeheim over the last 20, 25 years. They played it earlier this year in one of their early games that it actually helped them win a game. But he wants to play more man-to-man. He wants to be more aggressive. But this is the same team that Jim Boeheim had last year for all intents and purposes, minus a starting guard and a starting center. The only new guy on the roster really is, I should say they have some transfers that are coming in. They're helping. But it was a recruiting class of one guy. So it's going to take time for Adrian to really make this program in his image, if you will. The other part is that the transition is this isn't a situation like you had at Duke, where Mike Krzyzewski had it still going strong with the Blue Devils. His last game ever is in a Final Four.
Yeah.
And then he turns over. Syracuse has been struggling by Syracuse standards over the last 5-6 years. They haven't developed any NBA draft picks in quite a while. They've missed out on the NCAA tournament in each of the last 2 years. They haven't beaten a ranked team. I think it's going on 4 or 5 years now. So how much of a transition are you really looking at, right? In a way, Adrian is in a really interesting position here as a former player and assistant under Jim Boeheim, in knowing part of his job is to actually restore this program to where it once was without saying that part out loud, because Jim Boeheim's still walking the halls here at Syracuse. And you don't want to offend a legend, a Hall of Famer, who would probably argue with everything I just said as to whether the program was in decline or not, but it was. It just was.
Wouldn't be the first time Jim Boeheim got in an argument, from what I understand. But look, it's a team that went 1-2 in Hawaii, played two programs that are very much not in transition with Gonzaga and Tennessee, who we know well down here in the Southeastern Conference. But what did you see from the Orange in their trip to Hawaii?
The first two games in Hawaii when they played Gonzaga and Tennessee really affirmed some of the concerns you had about this team coming into the season. And one of them was rebounding. How is this team going to rebound when they go up against teams from Power 5 conferences? And both Tennessee and Gonzaga pummeled Syracuse on the boards, had a huge advantage in terms of second chance points. That's an area of the game where Syracuse is going to have to improve. It has to become more of a mindset for them. Some of these kids just aren't used to playing physically, playing hard. They don't understand how hard you really have to play, especially now that you're switching to man-to-man, in order to be successful. And another part is it's a real concern for this team in terms of how well they shoot the ball. They're really struggling. It's really ironic that just 2 years ago, Jim Boeheim had a team that had guys like Joe Girard, Buddy Boeheim, and Cole Swider out on the floor. They had great shooters. They didn't have great athletes on that starting lineup, but they had great shooters. Now you have this year's team, and they really are struggling shooting the ball. One of their starting guards, J.J. Starling, a transfer from Notre Dame, he's currently 1 of 16 from three-point range. That's a real struggle if that's your shooting guard or the guy playing off the ball in the backcourt.
No question about it. Judah Mintz has paced this team in scoring. He's averaging better than 18 points per game. What can you tell us about Mintz?
He's a tough kid. He's got good size for a point guard. He goes about 6'3", 6'4". The key to his game is he's got to get downhill, get into the lane, and get to the basket. He is not a guy who's afraid of contact. I mean, from players from Power 5 conferences, he rates in the top 4 in the country in terms of fouls drawn per 40 minutes. The other three guys are all 7-footers. We're talking like Zach Edey of Purdue and Donovan Clingan of Connecticut, the big center out at Arizona, and Judah Mintz, a 6'3" guard at Syracuse. He gets to the line. He converts when he gets to the line at about an 80% rate. So for LSU, you're looking to try to slow him down, make him go east-west instead of north-south, and if you can, have somebody waiting. There's guys on the Syracuse team that you can slough off of and not put yourself in too much of a defensive liability. So you slough off somebody and you have a big guy waiting for Judah. But I tell you what, he's tough. He's crafty. Even with all that, he's still tough to stop. Tennessee and Gonzaga didn't have a lot of success stopping him. They beat Syracuse. They beat him handily, but Judah played well out there.
Will Baker is probably going to be the guy that this LSU team plays through on offense. He's a 7-footer that can shoot it a little bit. He's not a great athlete, but he's a skilled player. Does Syracuse have anyone that can match up with him?
Not exactly. They have a couple guys at center. It's kind of an interesting center tandem they have going on. They have Naheem McLeod, who's a transfer from Florida State. Now, he's 7'4", 265 pounds. So he's got the size to defend Baker in the lane and in the post, because he'll just stay between him and the basket and put his hands in the air, and that's enough to make it difficult on anybody. The problem is I'm not telling you anything you don't know, Baker can move away from the basket, shoots the ball well, and McLeod has difficulty when he has to move away from the basket and defend anywhere out on the perimeter. Now, the other guy Syracuse has is a 6'8" power forward, Malik Brown. He has played primarily as McLeod's backup at center this year. In fact, they're splitting the minutes about 50-50. But while Malik Brown can go out and defend Baker on the perimeter, he's going to have trouble with the 7-footer when Baker moves inside. Because of all that, I would not be shocked to see a little bit of the 2-3 zone tonight.
How do you Yeah, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, and with the 2-3 zone, you could play either Brown or McLeod.
Sure.
Because Brown in the middle of the zone, he's got quick hands. He might be able to deflect a few entry passes. You can always collapse the guy back on the other side of Baker. Or if it's McLeod in the middle of the zone, again, now you have your 7'4" guy in the lane and not moving out of the lane.
Sure. What kind of environment do you expect in the arena tonight? I don't even know. It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. I don't even remember what it's called.
I can't. I still call it the Carrier Dome, and it's been about a year and a half since they converted to a new sponsor on the building. It's JMA Wireless Dome.
Okay.
Because it's a middle of the week game on a snowy night and the game's on TV, you're probably looking at about 19,000 people there. It'll be interesting to see if they crack 20. And I'm talking butts in seats.
Sure.
Will they have ticket sales that are above that? I would imagine so. I think this is the best game on Syracuse's home non-conference schedule. So I think if any fans were really, out there, perusing the schedule early in the year and saying, well, which game do I think I want to go to before ACC play begins in January, they would have circled the LSU game. But it'll be interesting to see how many people brave the weather, because we are getting a typical lake effect snowstorm coming into the air. Our first of the year, by the way, Hans. If you can make your way up here, maybe we can get in some snowshoeing or some skiing.
I just can't pass more quickly. I can't. Give me 104 all August long. I'm just fine. 38, 32, snow, and I'm out. I can't deal with it, Mike. So I'll let you brave it. I'll let Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, who I work with on the football side, brave it, and we'll watch it from the comfort of our home down here where it's 60 and we're freezing.
Yeah. I know Chris Blair. I don't know him, but I know him from listening to him on the radio. I'm going to be real interested in meeting him in person tonight at the Dome and seeing how long it takes him to thaw out.
He said he had to go in there and find a coat. He didn't think he had one that was going to be sufficient. So I know I don't. So we'll see what happens up there tonight. I'll expect a report on that.
Very good.
Mike, enjoy the basketball. We appreciate some time today.
Good talking to you, Hunt. Have a good one.
You too. He is Mike Waters, Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard. That was interesting to me because I watched a little bit of Syracuse play in Tennessee on the TV and here. Mintz is going to be a problem for LSU. He's a scoring point guard that's tough as nails in LSU. You'll see who Matt McMahon thinks his wing stopper is tonight, because that'll be who he puts on Mintz. But conversely, Syracuse has some issues dealing with Baker. If you're going to put a 7'4" kid on him and you're going to get into some pick and roll situations on the perimeter, some pick and pop situations, that's not what a 7'4" defender wants to be doing. And if you're going to defend him with a 6'8" guy in Malik Brown, I think Baker can do some work on that with his fundamental skill on the block. So it may lend itself to more zone. And at that point, LSU really needs to shoot the ball well. I think they can. I think they can be a really good shooting team, and they've shown that in spurts in the exhibition in some of the early season games. This is not a great Syracuse team. Gonzaga and Tennessee, who are much better than LSU, handled them. So we'll see what LSU can do tonight in the the wireless arena that is still the Carrier Dome in everybody's eyes, including the guy who covers Syracuse for a living. So I'm excited. 6 o'clock tonight is the tip. You can listen to it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, pregame at 5:30. Chris Blair is up there in upstate New York. John Brady joining him. So I'm excited to watch a little quote-unquote big-time basketball tonight between two programs who aren't where they have been at certain points, certainly not Syracuse, but have some talented players and are trying to kind of dig their way out of it with some new coaches. So tonight, 6 o'clock, LSU and Syracuse. We'll briefly touch on some of that with Glenn West. We'll certainly talk a lot of football with him. That's all coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Maybe done with leftovers by now from Thanksgiving. Those are probably done. So going to have to go outside the house to get something to eat. Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales near the New Heritage Shopping Center is an awesome spot. The Bacon Ranch Chicken Cheesesteak, maybe just the original Italian. It's got the ham, prosciutto, capicola, salami, pepperoni with the provolone, fresh baked bread each and every day. Love me some Jersey Mike's. Get their catering stuff. I know a lot of folks are going to feed the office here in December as you're working on year-end stuff. Let Jersey Mike's come in and feed your entire office. They love to do things like that. And for Hunt Palmer Show listeners, they'll give you 20% off your catering order if you visit our friends at Highway 30 in Gonzales. Download the Jersey Mike's app and be sure to check them out on DoorDash as well. Jersey Mike's to sub above.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. $20,000 off plus no payments for 90 days on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
I'm Tom Granick with Gil Martin, Wardo's Po' Boys in Natchez, Mississippi. On behalf of the Granick family, we invite you to run, walk, or stroll in the second annual Rudolph Roll. Held on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, this holiday event will kick off at 8 a.m. on December 9th and will include a 10K, 5K, and 1 mile kids fun run. Along with the race, there will be live music, drinks, and of course, Po' Boys. We're looking forward to an even bigger party this year. For more information, please check out the link on Wardo's Facebook page or scan the QR code. Hope to see y'all there.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri.
Wednesday's OTB will react to the latest college football playoff rankings, look forward to championship weekend, break down what the Tigers need to do in the portal and signing day, and Matt Flynn off the bench 7 to 10 a.m. 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate Mike Waters of Syracuse.com for jumping aboard if you missed my first segment of the show today. I kind of laid out the case for the Blitnikoff. I talked about Marvin Harrison and why someone may vote for him. Talked about Malik Neighbors and why I would vote for him. That's probably not a surprise to you because we tend to lean purple and gold around here. But I tried to be as objective as I could and kind of state the case for both. I still think Malik is going to win it, but I understand the other side of it. We'll just have to see here in 2 weeks. We've got 2 weeks to talk about it. Let's bring on Glenn West of Go 24/7. He joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Hunt. You actually caught me in the middle of a run, so
well,
it was
look,
my fault.
That's okay. I just got off the phone with Mike Waters, who's in Syracuse, and it's 27 degrees. So I don't think he's going for a run, but it's 60 down here, so that's quite an enjoyable time to go for a run. Do you think Malik's going to win the Blitnikoff?
I would have to probably lean Harrison. I mean, they've been promoting him really since the preseason, and he's had a very nice season. He's obviously been the marquee receiver in college football now for a couple of years, and Malik's had a really special season. I think if they're talking from a pure stats perspective, he's certainly deserving of it, but I think kind of the cachet that comes with Harrison will probably wind up being him getting the award. But Malik doesn't take anything away from what Malik's done. He's been fantastic.
He was awesome on Saturday. So was Jaden Daniels. I'm curious if, because you believe that the promotion of Marvin Harrison can do some wonders for the Biletnikoff, do you think LSU is doing enough on their end? I've been blown away for Jaden.
Look, they put together a 4-part documentary on why he should win the Heisman. I think the LSU's doing everything it can for Jaden. I think that they've gone the extra mile time and time again the last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, you can't scroll through Twitter without seeing some update on Jaden's stats or some kind of remarkable, achievement that he's made. He's obviously been a finalist for all these quarterback awards. And, LSU's fully leaning into this. And, I would expect, they've been doing everything they can for him. And now you just got to leave it up to the voters to see if they kind of jump on board. But I have been noticing that, a lot more of these national writers are starting to, I think, lean that way. It'll just be more kind of the regional votes, I think, is where this Heisman will be won or lost.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, so I guess I'll get you to expound a little bit. But, I mean, it seems like the majority of the national people that I follow are on the Jaden train. Now, that is, as we understand, where Bo Nix is going to play all alone this weekend, and that could flip. But at this point, it feels to me like there's a lot of national push behind Jaden.
Yeah, I was listening to a nice 2-minute clip that David Pollack did on the Dan Patrick Show yesterday. He's been fully behind Jaden really all season long. He's definitely a national voice. Kirk Herbstreit is a guy that I've seen push him pretty hard over the last couple of weeks about why he should be the Heisman. And yeah, I agree. A lot of these national writers and sports analysts, reporters that are on TV, I think they have been pushing Daniels the last couple of weeks, but that only counts for so much of the voting population. So, it's really going to come down to what West voters do. I think, in terms of whether Penix or Nix kind of pushes away from the pack this weekend in their games. So, I think there's also the possibility that Penix and Nix could maybe cancel each other out to some degree. If there's a couple of West voters out there that see that Penix has a really good game this weekend and Nix maybe stumbles, maybe they kind of change their tune and they vote Penix, and that might take a few votes away from, one or the other, and could leave the door open for a guy like Jaden to win it.
What do you think Brian Kelly is thinking about right now as far as his defense and this program is concerned?
Yeah, I think he understands that change needs to be made. I'm going to be very curious to see what kind of change that looks like. Last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been preaching hard about retention of players, building that continuity, I think, on both sides of the ball again next year. You saw how much it worked for the offense this year. Defense has been turned over a lot the last 2 years, and they haven't really had a lot of consistent starters over that time period. So I think that's definitely a focus point. And if that's going to be the vocal point of your offseason, I think the last thing LSU can do is run it back with all these players and these coaches. I think that there has to be some kind of change made. I don't know what exactly that looks like, whether it's Matt House or a couple of position coaches. I honestly couldn't tell you that, but I do think that Brian Kelly understands there needs to be changes made, and I'm sure that they're working behind the scenes right now to figure out what the best possible route is for LSU going forward.
With the Lincoln Riley offense, they've just kind of plugged in the next Heisman Trophy candidate wherever he's been, and the offense has kind of looked the same. It's hard for me to believe that LSU's offense can look really similar to this because of Jaden Daniels' skill sets. You can get some good wide receivers out there. Are they going to be Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas? Probably not. But what's realistic for this offense in this program moving forward?
Yeah, I think you can still have one of the top offenses in the SEC. Look, it is very unrealistic, to kind of expect them to put up record-breaking numbers every year. The season that Jaden just had, I think a lot of it had to do not only with the way he's evolved as a passer, but obviously his running ability as well. And I don't think there's any quarterback that you could bring into the country that would have a similar effect with his legs that Jaden had this past year. So, I think that this is going to be an offense where you're going to have to fine-tune some things. You might have to go in the portal and get, one elite receiver that you think can really be a instant impact player. But I think a lot of this is going to have to be internal development as well. You're going to have a lot of these starting offensive linemen back in the fold. You got a lot of young and hungry receivers that need to take that next step to take the place of the Malik Neighbors. We'll see what happens with Brian Thomas, but in all likelihood, you're going to be losing both of those guys to the NFL. And so they're going to have some guys step up. I'll be interested to see if maybe they lean in more to the run game this offseason. I mean, they're going to have a stable of running backs that are really talented coming back next year. And I'll be interested to see if they maybe balance that or try to balance that a little bit more this offseason by working in the run game a little bit more consistently.
LSU's a 1.5 underdog tonight up in Syracuse. What you think?
I'm probably going to take Syracuse. I mean, I think LSU found some things in the Charleston tournament. They looked okay in that game last week, but they still scare me late in games. I mean, like, they just don't have that go-to guy that I think can close out games for you. And so I think because of that, they're going to be in a lot of tight ones, especially here in non-conference play. And, I think that the one thing this team has done is shown that they can be competitive. They've played in a lot of games that have been decided by 3, 4, 5 points. And so if you get into one of those kind of heavyweight matches towards the end of the game, I like LSU's chances to be able to maybe try to find a way to win it, because they did figure out a couple of things, I think, in Charleston that can carry over and give them a chance this weekend.
Yeah, you mentioned closing games out. My dad and uncle came with me on Friday night. They were going to drop me off and then head about 45 minutes home to my aunt and uncle's house. And we left because they were up 30. And all of a sudden we walked to the car, and they had given up a 13-0 run out of nowhere. And the game was all of a sudden down to 9. So, yeah, I understand things can get a little hairy once they get a lead, but hopefully they can play well tonight.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. I'm doing an interview. Sorry, I got yelled at by a neighbor while I was out here doing the interview, so I'm trying to stay away from traffic.
Well, why don't we keep you out of trouble, Glenn, and I'll let you go because we got kind of a long segment here coming up. We appreciate some time. We'll talk again next week.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
He's Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7. Always appreciate a little bit of his time. He's getting yelled at. Somebody didn't want him on the phone. Sounds like a real pleasant neighbor. Let's come back and close out hour number 1. I went 11-1 picking LSU games this year. The only one I missed was Ole Miss. I got all the other ones right. Picked Florida State, picked Alabama, and then LSU winning the rest of them. So that was pretty good in terms of prognostication. Let's see how I did picking SEC teams against their over-under totals back in August. We will close out with all of those except one when we come back.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues and eligible bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on all new 23 Ford F-150 Black Widow trucks, plus $2,750 discount APR and 5.9% for 72 months. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept.
Jimmy on Charles Hanegraaff for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, live from Snow Seafood and Steak, Airline Highway at Highway 74 in Gonzales. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to Bradley Bjork. Bradley is the season champion in our 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em. Bradley wins a brand new 75-inch TV and a sound bar. And also congratulations to Kevin Helt Sr. and Everett Fakiti. Kevin and Everett are our Week 13 winners in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em contest and win a Twin Peaks gift card. And that wraps up our college football pick'em for the season.
Thank you, Jacob Beck. All right, let's go back. August 30th, I had over-under numbers for every single SEC team. I gave you picks on, well, what I thought was all of them. I didn't do LSU on purpose because I never do that. And for some reason, I just did not pick the over-under for South Carolina. I don't know what it was. I don't know what I would have thought. I have no idea, but it's not on the clip. We went back and listened to the whole segment, and I just didn't do South Carolina. So I have 12 SEC over-unders. How did I do? Jacob Beck, you can play the first clip, my first pick. Bama under 10.5. Well, Bama won 11 games. That's a big fat loser. I didn't believe in Milroe. I thought that they would get sneaked up on. I certainly thought I was in a good shape after they lost to Texas. Maybe LSU could go in there and beat them. Maybe they could lose at Texas A&M. Maybe Tennessee could go in there and beat them. None of that happened. That's a loser. I'm 0-1. Next. Arkansas over 6.5. Arkansas over 6.5 is a big fat no. They won 4 games. They didn't even get close to 7 wins. That's a terrible pick. I'm 0-2. Next. Auburn under 6.5. Auburn under 6.5. Ding, ding, ding. I told you they were going to lose to New Mexico State. That was a given. They were obviously not going to be able to get by the Aggies. That was a win based on the fact that Auburn could not beat New Mexico State, nor could they get a stop on 4th and 31. So I won that one inexplicably, but we'll take it. We're 1-2. Next. Mississippi State over 6.5. Zach Garnett didn't even make it to Thanksgiving. So, no, they didn't even get close. That's an atrocious pick. What else is new? I think I had at one point A&M, or Mississippi State, 4th in my power rankings. I thought they would be decent. They were absolutely not. So, we're 1-3. Next. Ole Miss under 7.5. Great. They went 10-2. That's not even close. I did not believe in Jackson Dart. I didn't think he was great last year. They fell apart last year. They were going to Georgia. I loved the under there. We're hanging on by a thread here. Next. A&M over 8.5. They won 7. Fired Jimbo. Had A&M winning 9 games somehow. Well, Connor Wigman got hurt. I need a little bit of a reprieve there. That happens, and I didn't allot for that in the models. I should have allotted for the fact that Jimbo Fisher was a failure and should have known that was coming, and I didn't. So we're losing just about all of them other than Auburn thanks to New Mexico State. So huge shout-out to Jerry Kill and New Mexico State. What's next? Georgia over 11.5. They run the table. I mean, who could have seen that coming? That's impressive foresight for me in August to be able to tell that Georgia was going to be good at football this year. I don't know that many people had that back in August, but me, after they had the schedule that was thought of to be the easiest in SEC history, I had the foresight to say, hey, Georgia is going to be pretty good this year. Watch out. They could be a dark horse, and I nailed it. Florida under 5.5, which is crazy. No, they were under 5.5. They went 5-7. Give me credit for it, Beck. That's a huge win right there. The Gators, not good, and we needed to get home against Florida State there. Found a way to do it. Got it by half. That's good stuff from Vegas. I mean, I realized they had to go to Utah and they had to play Florida State and they had to go and play Georgia away from home too. But that is crazy to look at Florida in August and say 5.5. But that's where things are. And based on some news I heard over the weekend, like things are not super awesome in Gainesville right now. So yeah, that's a winner for me. So we're getting hot. That's Georgia and Florida. Kentucky over 7.5. Nope, 7-5 Kentucky. That's a loser. Look, Kentucky did get a win against Louisville late to make it close, but it's not to be. So that's a loser for me, which is becoming far, far too common at this point. What's next? Missouri under 6.5. Under 6.5. Was that good? You can give me a double buzzer for that. That deserves a double buzzer. Under 6.5. They doubled the 5-win total to get to 10-2. Look, how am I supposed to see that coming? Their Cook was decent at the end of last year, like decent, but not great. And then their defense played better. Blake Baker did a really good job. I mean, look, their only 2 losses were at Georgia and home in a shootout to LSU. I had them at 5 wins. They won 10. Impressive work by me. Tennessee under 9.5. Nailed that one. Thought it was a little bit more Hendon Hooker than it was Josh Heupel. Didn't love Joe Milton. They didn't have Jalen Hylett or Cedric Tillman. I didn't love them beating Georgia. I didn't love them going to Tuscaloosa, even though I thought it was possible. They only won 8 games, so that is a winner. That's the 4th winner for me. Congratulations to me. What's next? And Vanderbilt over 3.5. Needed Vandy to get to 4. They got 2. They did not win a game after the Saturday of Labor Day weekend. LSU kicked off on that Sunday. So, as I said on my pregame show, and I think I said this on Saturday, LSU Vanderbilt did not win a football game after LSU kicked off in Orlando. So that's your hunt against the over-unders. I went 4-8, and really Georgia was the easiest one of them all. I just needed them to run the table, and they pretty much did. And then Auburn, I don't know how I pulled that one off, having to get them under on the last 2. Over on the last 2, and they found a way to beat New Mexico State.
And we can assume that you probably would have not gotten LSU because what I was finding was 9.5, and I think you said you would have taken the under.
I probably would have taken the under, yeah, and which would have gotten me home because they went 9-3. But I can't claim to that. So last order of business here in this hour, we'll go through my picks against the spread. As you know, we were just over 500 going into the last week. I took Missouri minus the 9. That hit. I pushed the Egg Bowl. I had Louisville minus 7.5. They lost outright. I laid 13 points with Bama. That did not hit. I laid 27 with Tennessee. That did not hit against Vanderbilt. I bet Florida plus 6.5. That did not hit. I had Georgia plus 24. That did get home in Atlanta. And I had South Carolina plus 7.5 against Clemson. That did not hit. So look at what this sets up, Beck. I went 2-5-1 that week. That brings us to a season-long total against the number with every SEC game we could find at 47, 46-2. That means I have to bet
over
the SEC
500.
Championship, right? Well, I've got
to do it.
I have to stay over 500. If I miss the championship game, that'll be a 500 season. I was doing so well, and then in week 11 I went 1-5, and in week 13 I went 2-5-1. That is a 3-10-1 mark in 2 of the last 3 weeks.
You were doing pretty well there. I mean, you were on I would say you were on a heater.
I was on a heater. Let's see how many over 500. There were 13 weeks. I went over 500. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went over 500 7 of 13. So it's just about even. I was pretty much just right down the middle all year long. So I'll have to one more time bet the Georgia Alabama game and see what we can make happen. Do you have a number on that game yet? I think it's like 4 or 5.
It's like 6 maybe.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out on Friday and we'll get it picked. But for SEC over-unders, 4-8. Didn't even pick South Carolina. And for the season-long prognostication on SEC games against the number, you're looking at a solid 1 game over 500. So not terrible, but not great. So tonight, Tuesday night, we'll be out at Pluckers. If you want to watch the LSU-Syracuse game, they will have it on at Pluckers tonight at 6 o'clock. That game's going to end at probably 8:15. We start Pluckers Trivia at 8:30. That's a great way to spend your Tuesday night. So come out and hang out with us at Pluckers on Nicholson. We start at 8:30. We'll get you out of there by 10 o'clock. Great draft beers, awesome wings, a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of games on TV. There's good SEC, ACC action on all night long, and we'll have that on at Pluckers. So grab a team or come out solo, win some Pluckers gift cards. You can get some decent amount of Pluckers cash if you come on out and play some sports trivia with us. So we'll look forward to seeing a big crew of y'all out there tonight at Plucker Sports Trivia. If you missed any of hour number one, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, wherever you find your audio, you can find us. I gave my case for Malik Neighbors to win the Blitnikoff at the top of the show. Mike Waters from Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard talking LSU basketball. He covers Syracuse for Syracuse.com. Glenn West to Go 24/7 got yelled at by his neighbor, but we talked some sports before that happened. Then we went over my SEC over-unders. We'll come back after Sports Center. I got to talk about the Saints. Sharif's going to do that as well, and some new coaching hires in the SEC that I have thoughts on as well. We'll see you in hour number 2.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find him on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor's dealing with an unspecified hand injury that could sideline him during Indy's postseason push. Colts currently hold the final AFC wildcard spot. The Vikings, after watching Josh Dobbs throw 4 interceptions in last night's loss to the Bears, will be using their bye week to evaluate their quarterback situation. As far as the other quarterback on the field last night, Justin Fields threw for 217 yards, took a couple of sacks, lost a pair of fumbles. Chicago spending the rest of the regular season before deciding whether to move forward with Fields by evaluating their QB. Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
I can't see a world that Justin Fields does anything over the next 5 games that will preclude the Chicago Bears from taking a quarterback with the number 1 pick, keeping in mind that they have the Carolina Panthers draft pick in 2024.
Chris Canty on Greeny. Panthers owner David Tepper never gave a reason today as to why he fired coach Frank Reich, but he did stand by Carolina's decision to draft quarterback Bryce Young number 1 overall and defended his perceived lack of patience. Tepper has fired 3 head coaches mid-season in the last 4 years.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman. Coming up Wednesday, first it was Josh McDaniels, then Frank Reich. I'll tell you which head coach will be the next one to be shown the door. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Moving right along. Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, hour number 2. Thanks for hanging out here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sharif Ishak with us coming up in 30 minutes. In 15 minutes, I'll give you my thoughts on the 2 new coaching hires in what is still right now the SEC Western Division. So stay tuned for that. But right now we have to talk about the Saints. And everybody in this station has their own style. I think that's fair to say. And for those of you that listen to our station, you understand kind of what you're going to get from each show. Not every show is for everybody. I think that we do a good job of being a little bit more, there's a different flavor for each show. My lane, more often than not, is objective and statistical, like objective things you can look into. I enjoy that. I think it resonates, and it's where I spend most of my time on this show. Now, opinion sells, and opinion is important in this medium, of course. And I'll offer that, but I think more so than most, I stick to the numbers. In this segment, I'm not doing any numbers. Because if you're a Saints fan and you're watching the games or listening to us, or you have Twitter, or you're on message boards, or you're with your buddies, or like you're in a group text, like you've seen all the stats about Derek Carr's completions and touchdowns per $1 million, or what they've done in the red zone, or Dennis Allen's career head coaching record, or any of that. You've got that information. I'm not going to regurgitate it to you. This segment right here is about how I feel about the New Orleans Saints. It's rooted in zero fact. It's just what we're watching and what we think moving forward. And what became very clear to me over the last 2 football games, specifically the game on Sunday coming off of a bye with the lead in the division on the line against a team that, quite frankly, isn't any good, is that the Saints aren't any good either, and they're nowhere close to getting any better. I believe this wholeheartedly. The Cam Jordan, Michael Thomas, Demario Davis, Alvin Kamara era in New Orleans is over. The next time the Saints put a product on the field that is competitive with the top end of the NFC, they won't be on it. I don't know about Marshawn Lattimore or Ryan Ramczyk. I don't know about Chris Olave, probably. But that core that has been so good for so many really good Saints teams that, yes, were spearheaded by Drew Brees, but that was the end of Brees, and these were the guys who were the main cogs around him on those teams. They're aging out of their primes, and the Saints have lost the rope. They tried to rekindle it and plug Derek Carr in with a couple of young guys that I just named around these guys who were your moneymakers, and this team stinks. I don't care about the standings in the NFC South anymore. The Saints' wins this year have come against Tyson freaking Badgett at home when you had to come back and win. A game at an Indianapolis team that was bad enough to draft a quarterback early. He's out, and they went with a backup quarterback in that game. The Patriots, who are a 4-alarm dumpster fire, they're so bad that the greatest coach in the history of the sport is going to get kicked out the door. Do you know how bad you have to be to get him fired? And then you won a couple of games at the top with a team that's already fired their coach in Frank Wright, and the Titans, who you beat by a point, and you scored 16 that day at home. They never play well. Never. Sometimes they're remotely competitive, but remotely competitive is not the goal. I said before the season started that, yeah, your head coach is in year 2, and yeah, you've got a new quarterback. This is not a rebuild. This is we have to win now. We're going to rely on Cam Jordan. We're going to rely on Michael Thomas and Demario Davis and Alvin Kamara. We're going to rely on Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May, both of whom are in their 30s. We're going to push off the dock and go try to win with a quarterback who's past his prime. There is no rebuild here. That is, we need to be good now. They stink. And this era of those great players is over. And the Saints have shown absolutely zero willingness to hit the reset button. They pushed every chip they could possibly push in with Drew Brees, and I think that was the right thing to do, and they had good teams there, and it didn't work. And then Drew left, and they said, well, we just got to keep going. And they never took the foot off the gas. They never shifted gears. They just kept the throttle going full speed ahead as fast as they could go, and the car stinks. And that is not a pun on purpose, but you can use it if you'd like. There is very little room to look at this roster, look at this situation, look at this front office and coaching staff, and have any sort of hope about the next 14 months of Saints football. That can change if you draft a quarterback and you cut bait with some of the older players and you get a lot of draft picks and you see what happens with some younger players that may pop. But this front office doesn't do that. They trade their picks to move up for one guy. They go into free agency and spend big on individual guys. They don't try to accumulate more young talent. They tried to win. They're not winning. They're losing to Atlanta. They're getting crushed in Minnesota by a team without Justin Jefferson and their starting quarterback. They were pretty non-competitive with Jacksonville for 3 quarters at home. They got beat by a rookie quarterback in Houston. The Bucs, who we thought were on the verge of tanking, came into the Superdome and annihilated the Saints. The Packers couldn't get out of their own way early this year. Love was turning the ball over at a remarkable level, and the Saints coughed up a 3-score lead. They're terrible. And I don't think they're going to get any better anytime soon. And I will promise this. Even if they manage to win a couple of games here moving forward, I'm not picking them against Detroit. They'll probably beat Carolina at home. The Giants are awful. I'm not going to get excited about the Rams and Bucks and Falcons to end the season trying to win the division, because I have watched Dallas play. I have watched San Francisco play. I have watched Philadelphia play. There is no chance that this team can make a run in the playoffs in this conference, and the conference is okay. There's no chance. Even if they win the division, I don't care. And I'm not going to get excited about it. There's too much evidence here that massive changes have to be made. And if getting a home playoff game and playing competitive with Dallas or Seattle or whoever makes this organization feel like they need to stay the course, it's a disaster. You've got to hold your nose, go underwater, and realize it's going to be a while until you can come up for air. And when you do, Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael won't be anywhere around. Derek Carr has to be, and that's disappointing. But it's cooked. They're awful on offense. They're aging and not as good as they were on defense. Their coach is clueless. They're in a bad place at quarterback, and in terms of the salary cap as a whole, it's just a disaster. And this is crystal clear. I'm not going to come back on this statement if they beat Detroit at home on Sunday. I'm not going to do it if then they go beat Carolina and New York and they've won 3 in a row. I'm digging my heels in on this franchise right now. And this is the same guy who in August looked at the roster, looked at the division, looked at the conference and the schedule of quarterbacks you were going to play and said, Saints fans, you ought to be pretty excited about this season. I said that in August. I'm an idiot. It was all incorrect. It's a bummer because I like it when the Saints are good. It makes this job more interesting, makes this state more fun, certainly makes January a more palatable month. But we are a long way from the Saints being really good. We'll chat with Sharif Ishak about it in 15 minutes. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Protect yourself from power outages. The Saints offense's power is always out, but you can prevent the power from going out at your home or your commercial property or your business with a Generac generator from Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been operating this business for 40 years. And just give them a call at this number, 225-300-9389. If you call between now and Christmas, you're going to get significant savings on a Generac generator. And with that Generac generator, you're going to get a 10-year free warranty. You don't have to let the power go out in your home. Whether you're staying home during a storm or a power outage, or whether you're evacuating, which we know we have to do from time to time, that generator will keep your house running. So when you do come home, if there's a significant storm, you don't have a disaster of a fridge and a house that's 103 degrees. Boudreaux's Electric can help you out with that. Give them a call, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Our weekly chat with Sean Salisbury, is Derek Carr salvageable? We'll talk about it Tuesday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tiger fans, be a part of the ultimate LSU experience on Sunday, December 3rd, when you can finish on the 50-yard line at Tiger Stadium in the Our Lady of the Lake Health Tiger 10K. Visit 1045ESPN.com today to register for a free pair of race entries. And for more information, visit Tiger10K.com.
I'm going to do a little exercise here before we get to Sharif in regards to SEC football hirings. I went back just to check it out, and I just used an arbitrary number. I had no reason for picking it, but I just said I'll pick the last 3. I got the last 3 hires for all 14 SEC programs. The last 3 times they hired a full-time head coach. And I graded them in 3 different categories. Great, best you could be. Fine, okay, decent hire. And disaster. Could I have been more nuanced than that? Sure. Am I claiming that every hire that I categorized, you would categorize exactly the same way? No. And I could listen to different arguments to them. I did them my way, and we'll just see kind of what you think as a listenership. But I wanted to see, like, how often does a hire work out? And so, again, I went back and looked at the last 3 hires for every team. And I found that in my rankings, that's 42 hires. 14 programs, last 3 hires. That's 42 hires. I said 6 of them are too early for me to call. I don't know what Brian Kelly is at LSU as a hire. I think he's done a fine job right now, but we'll see. It's probably not going to be a disaster, but I've got it at 5. I don't know what Hugh Freeze is at Auburn. I don't know yet what Billy Napier is at Florida, even though it doesn't look good. I don't know exactly what Shane Beamer is at South Carolina yet. I don't know what Josh Heupel is at Tennessee. I don't know what Eli Drinkwitz is at Missouri, although it looks very good. But they went 5-7 last year. So, like, I wanted to be fair and kind of leave those out. The rest I graded. That's 36 hires for me to grade. And only 9 of those 36 did I grade out as great hires. Les Miles, I said, was a great hire at LSU. That man won a national championship, played for another one, won the league. He won the league 3 times. He played for it another couple. Like, he played against the most dominant force we've seen in the last 25 years of college football and produced some really, really good results. If you told me that Brian Kelly was going to do that over this decade, I would sign up for that. I think Les was a great hire. I think Lane Kiffin's been a great hire at Ole Miss. They've won 10 games twice. I thought that Hugh Freeze was a great hire at Ole Miss. I think Nick Saban's obviously a great hire at Alabama. I think that Kirby Smart and Mark Richt were great hires at Georgia. I think that Steve Spurrier was a great hire at South Carolina. I think that James Franklin was a great hire at Vanderbilt. And I think that Mark Stoops has been a great hire at Kentucky. That's it for me on great hires. There are more, in my opinion, that have been disasters. In fact, 36% of almost 40% have been disastrous hires. Chad Morris didn't win a league game. Matt Luke, Zach Arnett, Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State, Brian Harsin, Mike Shula, and Dennis Francione were disasters at Alabama. I have Will Muschamp as a disaster at South Carolina. Jeremy Pruitt, oh my gosh. Butch Jones looked nice for a second there, but they never took off, and it was a disaster at the end. Clark Lee to this point has been awful. I know that's a really hard job, and they were doing a construction whole deal. I think that's been terrible. Joker Phillips was a disaster. And I've got 40% that have been fine. This is your category that's Brett Bielema. It's Dan Mullen at Florida, Jim McElwain, Jim Donnan at Florida, Barry Odom, Gary Pinkel, Rich Brooks at Kentucky. I thought Jimbo Fisher, Kevin Sumlin, and Mike Sherman were fine. Jimbo was not a disaster. If you want to put it based on the dollar signs, fine. And if you think that compromised the hire they could make here, fine. Again, I'm not planting the flag in the ground for these 3 categories I just made up, okay? The point of this exercise is to look at these hires and go, 75% of these literally are not great hires. Only 9 of 42 to this point would I categorize as great. Most of the time, this just runs its course, whether that's 3 years or 6 years like Jimbo, and you move on. I don't think Dan Mullen was a disaster. They won the East his second to last year. I don't think Brett Bielema was a disaster. He took over a broken program because of what Bobby Petrino and John L. Smith left, and they got to some solid footing, and then it fell off at the end because it's at Arkansas. But the point being, as I look at A&M hiring Mike Elko and I look at Mississippi State hiring Jeff Lebby, we can all sit here and talk about the pros and cons. I can tell you that Mike Elko doesn't appear to me to be a real dynamic recruiter, and he's never run a big-time program. I can tell you that he didn't win a ton of games at Duke, and then you could come back and say nobody wins a ton of games at Duke. He's a great defensive mind. He's been at Texas A&M. He'll put in some hard-nosed physical principles, and they'll go find an offensive guy that'll do something better than Jimbo. You can argue both sides of it. At Jeff Lebby, he's never run a program. He's got the stink of Art Briles around him. But he's got a great offense. He's been awesome scoring points at UCF and Ole Miss and Oklahoma. And the truth is that we can try to analyze these things and try to suggest whether or not it's great or not. And the fact of the matter is that far more often than not, it's either fine or a disaster. In this day and age, when you can turn a program around pretty quickly because of the transfer portal and NIL, you could even argue how bad a disaster is. LSU took and I categorized O as fine, which you could suggest it should be great. You could suggest it could be a disaster. I could listen to either one of them. Greatest season we've ever had, 2 500 seasons, 38 scholarship players. I honestly would not argue with you if you told me that Ed Ogeron was a great hire, a fine hire, or a disaster. Not really the point. But as I take this entire screenshot, I look at it and go, you know what? Jeff Levy will probably do one of 3 things. He'll probably win 9 games at Mississippi State, scored a lot of points, and Oklahoma or Florida will hire him. He'll absolutely bottom out like a lot of coaches at Mississippi State do, and he'll get fired and go run an offense somewhere. Or he'll do what a lot of coaches do, and he'll Jimbo Fisher this thing for 4 years, and the last year will be 5-7, and they'll move on. Like, the odds that anybody does something great just aren't that great. 9 out of 42 I categorized as great, and that's if you give me Les Miles, that's if you give me Mark Richt, that's if you give me Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss, who elevated them to the point where they beat Bama 2 years in a row, made a New Year's Six Bowl. After what I watched with the Andy Houston nut, that seemed to be pretty good to me. So I'm not here to hot take it all over the place on what Mike Elko is going to be at Mississippi at A&M. I think you're probably here going, "Oh, Hunt, crap on this guy. Mississippi A&M, they're such a disaster. What a cult. We crushed." Like, Mike Elko's a fine hire. My gut, if you ask me what I think Mike Elko's going to do, I think he's going to win 8 or 9 games a lot, and A&M will either decide that's not good enough if he hasn't gotten to the playoffs in the first 4 years, and they'll try to find the next guy, which is what they've done with the last 3 coaches there. Mike Sherman won 9 games a bunch. Kevin Sumlin had an exciting offense and had A&M looking really cool with Johnny Manziel, and they won 11 games. And Jimbo Fisher put a competitive product out there. Nobody got over the hump, and that's probably what Mike Elko will do. And I was listening to Billy Lucci when they hired Mike Elko. Actually, no, it was before they hired Mike Elko. It was when they let go of Fisher, and you were looking at the next guy. And he basically said, you just got to kind of keep swinging until you hope you get the next guy. In that state, you hope you get your Mac Brown that can give you 5 unbelievable years. You hope you find your Kirby Smart or your Nick Saban or your Urban Meyer or your Steve Spurrier. And it's hard to find, as is evidenced by this. Like, most of the time, it doesn't really work out. And so I'm just not going to sit here and give you some, like, scalding, fierce take on the failure of A&M's administration when they hired Mike Elko. I think Ross Bjork looks really bad, and I don't think that his superiors are too happy with him. And I think that Selman over at Mississippi State conducted a search, made the right decision to get rid of Zach Arnett, who was a disaster, and to move forward, but he hired a coordinator. And the team across the state from him is really hot right now. So it's a tough job. Got tougher with Texas and Oklahoma showing up. But again, the numbers with 36 hires, 9 great, 14 fine, 13 disaster. It's hard to find a really good coach. And I think it's always popular when a coach is struggling a little bit to go, well, fire him and get the next guy. It's hard to hire a coach, too. And sometimes searches that look like they go really, really well. I can't think of a more well-run search from the coach being let go, or in this case, leaving, which was Dan Mullen for Florida, to names surfacing and a hire being made in a quick fashion than what John Cohen did with Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State. It was quiet. It was quick. It made sense. He came down here. It was a disaster in 2 seconds. And sometimes you run around like crazy and come up with somebody after 2 or 3 people tell you no, and it works out. We don't know. But a lot of these don't. And I hope Mike Elko doesn't. But we'll just have to see. Sharif Isaac's going to join us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. like cypress stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find him on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Wednesday's OTB will react to the latest college football playoff rankings, look forward to championship weekend, break down what the Tigers need to do in the portal and signing day, and Matt Flynn off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Let's head out to Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif Ishak, WDSU is with us. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I could just hear it in your voice, the aggravation. I could just hear it, man.
You should have heard the first segment of the hour. It was not kind to the black and gold. I quit on him on Sunday. I was going to give him a chance, take command of the South, and figure something out. But you go over there and lay an egg like that in the red zone, and you show me what you show me for 2 months, and I'm out. So I don't know where you are.
Yeah, I'm pretty much out. I think you know, the fan base is out. You can just see how bad it's gotten, and it continues to just get worse and worse. And I think Alvin Kamara in the post-game locker room is about as honest as he can get. And he just says we have no identity, even though Dennis Allen disagrees with him. But I think I agree with Alvin Kamara. I know I agree with Alvin Kamara. This team has no identity. Zero.
What would Dennis Allen suggest the identity is?
An explosive offense is his exact answer. And I 100% disagree, and I think everyone who watches with their own eyes would disagree with that when you go 0 for 5 in the red zone. I mean, look, he threw that ball right to Jesse Bates. It was not even a good decision. The receiver wasn't looking. It would have been, if the receiver was looking, it would have been an awful pass. The Taysom fumble was the first time he's fumbled in 3 years. I mean, it happened. They should have been using him a lot more earlier in the red zone than you waited into that part of the game. It's bad football. It really is a bad and boring product. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's bad and it's very boring.
What's the status of some of the injuries on offense? I know they were down to a skeleton crew at wide receiver. Ooh. What do you know at that point?
Concussion for Chris Olave. I'd be surprised if he plays. He's definitely going to be out this week. Rashid Shaheed, that quad hamstring, that's not going to be ready for this week. And then, of course, no Michael Thomas. I mean, it's just you're going against a well-rested Lions squad that's going to be angry after losing to the Packers at home again on Thanksgiving. I just don't see it. I mean, I just don't see how this game is even close. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, the offense is already fragile and awful. I mean, what more do you need? I mean, all you have is Alvin, Taysom, Juwan Johnson, and what, you're going to start using Jimmy Graham now, 11 games into the season?
Keith Kirkwood, baby. Get him the rock.
Look, I just think Derek Carr is not living up to the $150 million contract. It's not even living up to a quarter of it right now.
What does he say?
I mean, some of the stuff that he says after the game, it just becomes, it's like this fake rah-rah stuff. And it's just like, we'll get it. We're going to get it together. It's going to be fine. And I understand I have to be professional because I cover the team, but just after a while, it just becomes nauseating to hear some of the same stuff after each game. It's just like, we have to get better. We're going to get better. I did it when I was in, with the Raiders in 2021, when we went out, to end the season and made the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, but you've had an 11-game sample and it's not gotten better. Like, what makes you think you are going to get better and be consistently this good for the rest of the season? I mean, I just don't see it. I really don't see it, Hunt.
And you were leaning on a defense that you considered elite as of the end of September. You open with a win against Tennessee where you hold them to 15. You hold Carolina to 17. You lose, but you hold Green Bay to 18 points in that game. And you shut out New England. And you're thinking, okay, this defense they can at least lean on. And now you look up and that's not been – it's not a disaster, but it hasn't been elite. And that's got to be concerning.
Told you last week, told you a few times this year, this defense is just getting older. They are just getting older, getting beat by the kryptonite called a mobile quarterback. Desmond Ridder isn't a good quarterback either, Hunt.
Nope.
And they got beat by Desmond Ridder. Think about it. Desmond Ridder beat them. A guy who's just notorious for turning the ball over beat them. Remember a few weeks ago when Josh Dobbs was just doing Herculean things against their defense? Well, 2 weeks later, he's getting benched because he's lost back-to-back games and has the most turnovers in the NFL this year. That just goes to show you this defense just has no answers for a mobile quarterback. It is 100% their kryptonite. They can't contain it. And, maybe the saving grace is Jared Goff this week, who stands in the pocket, but they can't get pressure either. That's been an issue all season. The inability to get pressure. They can force the takeaways, but they can't get the pressure and do anything with the takeaways. So just bad football all the way around. It is very bad football.
Nathan Shepard and Colin Saunders were the two guys brought in to revitalize a middle of the Saints defensive front that had struggled a little bit after a great run of about 4 or 5 years. How would you judge their play?
As a whole, the defensive line is just not good. I mean, the Shepard, Cam, anyone who's playing along that defensive line. I mean, Carl Granderson has shown flashes, and he's been the best defensive lineman. But, Saunders, Shepard, Cam, anybody else along the defensive line, just not great in the run defense. To get ripped for 228 yards, it's unacceptable. Yeah, it's just that's stuff that you never thought you'd see with this defense But as the season has gone along, they've become very vulnerable to a lot of things in the run game, run defense, pressure, sacks. It's a lot of things that has just, gotten worse and worse with this defense, and there's really no fixing it. You're not fixing this during the season.
What do you think Mickey Loomis thinks of this whole situation?
Well, I think that, he wants it to be better. I can't imagine him sitting up there and be like, oh, man, hey, we have 5 wins. We're still in it, which is, like I told you, it's a disingenuous, we're still in it first place last week, and they still have a chance to win the division. But I just can't imagine Gale, Dennis Lauscher think this is, like, sustainable long term. Like, if you somehow win this awful, miserable division, you're going to get blasted by the Cowboys in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, and then where do you go from there? Celebrate a 9-win, maybe 8-win season, winning the NFC South that was miserable and getting crushed on national TV in the playoffs? It's just, you can't celebrate that. You can't sustain that moving forward. I just hope he cares. And I think he cares. He says the right things. I just hope that he actually does care about the product that he's putting out there for the fans who have been loyal, to the franchise from day one, and just been heading in the wrong direction now.
What do you think the environment's going to be like on Sunday?
It's going to be vicious. There's going to be some booing. Let me take that back. There will be a lot of booing. There's going to be a lot of booing, and I think the fans are just, who have been loyal for all those years, are just they're fed up with it. I mean, if you follow on social media, you can just see how infuriated they are with the way this team has played, and I just think it's going to be an awful, awful, awful atmosphere come Sunday, and I can't believe that. I can't believe we're going to go to a home game and hearing a lot of boos. I never thought I'd see that day again post, Katrina.
It's odd. I didn't spend a ton of time down there, but I spent some, and it did resonate with me just how much that city loves that team. And you had such a great run there with Breeze and Peyton, and it's still so fresh in people's minds. And this is the antithesis of that, and it's tough to watch.
I mean, Melissa, I've been covering it since I graduated LSU in 2005. I mean, I remember covering the games at Tiger Stadium because of Katrina and how bad those games were. And then covering the Sean Payton era when it started in 2006 and revitalizing, the franchise and the fan base and making them happy. And then these last 2 years haven't been pleasant, man. They haven't been pleasant. The boos have been coming out even last couple games at home. And I hate to say it, but that's the reality they live in. You're going to get booed whenever you're playing bad football. And it's going to happen Sunday. If they win, somehow miraculously win a game with a shorthanded team, maybe the fan base comes back. But like I said, this isn't sustainable long term. Where's this franchise going after this season?
Who do you think is going to win the South?
Boy, man, can no one win this South?
Nope, somebody's got to do it.
These teams are so unwatchable at times. I mean, if the Falcons played like that every Sunday, I guess they can win. But the Saints have the easiest schedule after they, likely lose to the Lions Sunday. They have the easiest schedule, but there's no such thing as an easy win for them the way they've been playing. I don't know. The Falcons are undefeated in the NFC South. I'll go with the Falcons. As much as that pains me to say, I'll just go with the Falcons.
Dirty Birds.
That's sad. Right. I don't want to say that, but what gives you hopes in saying that the Saints can win this bad division just the way they're playing on offense? 3 touchdowns in their last 32 possessions. Just, I don't know. I can't. I would be disingenuous by saying the Saints. It would be an absolute awful thing for me to say the Saints are going to win the division the way they're playing.
Can't disagree. We'll see. Saints and Lions coming up on Sunday from the Dome. We'll chat with Sharif next Tuesday. Thanks, man.
All right, Hunt.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, covering the Saints and the Pels. Could have gotten to the Pels there, but it's November, and nobody's really fired up about that either. So we'll maybe get to that a little bit next week. But it's a bummer, man. And I understand that it's got to be so much more a bummer for those of you that bleed black and gold and love this team. I know that Charlie talked earlier today on his show about how he struggles to remember a time more bleak than this because of what is in the past and what the near future looks like. You feel like you maybe always had hope and that's just starting to drift a little bit. And we know where Matt stood on this thing the whole time. So obviously, I think T-Bob's a little frustrated as well. It's a rough scene in New Orleans with the Saints. So we'll see if they can shock us on Sunday with the Lions, but it's not going to change how I feel about the franchise. We'll come back and close it out.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 3 decades in the game, redesigning, remodeling bathrooms and closets. Holiday season is upon us. Struggling for a gift idea? How about a brand new closet? Bet that would go over well. If you're just struggling with space, struggling with your wardrobe, trying to figure things out, just declutter. Create some more space. Use your space more efficiently. David Duvall and his team can do it. Get that free consultation. You can request it at onebathandclosets.com. He'll start you with a questionnaire. What do you have? What do you want? Here's what we can do. And if you're worried about paying for it right now, they've got financing options available at One Bath and Closets. Again, 30 years in the business with David Duvall and his team. Trust them to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here. Now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Jimmy on Charles Hanegraaff for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch, live from Snow Seafood and Steak, Airline Highway at Highway 74 in Gonzales. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Wednesday, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust invite you to bling in the holidays. Register today at 1045ESPN.com to win a $10,000 custom piece of jewelry handcrafted by Stuart Selassie himself. Bling in the holidays with Citizens Bank and Trust, Selassie Jewelry, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Come see us tonight, 8:30, Plucker Sports Trivia, LSU basketball on the hardwood at Syracuse at 6 o'clock. Right after that one goes final, we'll be doing some sports trivia at Plucker, so come on out, watch the second half, and hang out, win some gift cards. Always a good time. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Jari Evans, former Saints guard, was named a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Evans is headed for Canton. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I think Jari Evans is a Hall of Fame player. Obviously, that's where Sean Payton started that thing with the interior offensive line in front of Drew and allowing him to go to work, and Jari Evans was a huge piece to that. So I don't know if it'll be this year. In fact, I don't think it will be this year.
It'll probably be a minute.
Yeah, in time, I think that Jari Evans will be a Hall of Fame player, and hopefully so, because I think he earned it in the black and gold.
Yeah, he's like a four-time first team All-Pro. So yeah, he's got a pretty good chance. It does usually take a while for the guards though. But anyway, moving on here. Kentucky will handle number 8 Miami in Rupp Arena tonight. Take the Fighting Casey Gaines. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I like Kentucky and Rupp tonight. I've enjoyed watching them a little bit early in the season. Rob Dillingham has shot it great. Antonio Reeves has kind of paced them. When I watch Kentucky, the one word that comes to mind is fast. They look very fast to me. We've seen Cal teams that were exceptionally long, that were exceptionally tall, and they do have some size, but this team on the perimeter looks very fast to me, and I'm curious to see how that plays against a Miami program that's kind of built itself on that under Jim Larinaga with guards and speed and that kind of thing. It should be a lot of tempo in Rupp tonight. That'll be good to watch.
Panthers owner David Tepper on what he's looking for in a new head coach. Quote, I would like someone to be here 20 to 30 years. I'd like to have someone say the eulogy at my funeral in 30 years. Okay, maybe 40 years. The next Panthers coach will eulogize David Tepper. Take it or leave it.
Oh, man, I'm going to leave it. He's firing coaches like it's a bodily function, to quote George Steinbrenner in Seinfeld, to quote George Costanza in Seinfeld, talking about George Steinbrenner. This is Ryan Clark said it today or yesterday, I guess, when they fired him, that the owner's a super fan who thinks it's a toy, and that's just not how you get it done. And I don't know if Frank Reich's the answer or not, and I don't know if Bryce Young is the answer or not, but I know that consistently turning over coaches like that is not the answer. I fully supported Will Selman in firing Zach Arnett at Mississippi State through half a year because that just looked like an abject disaster, and not that this Carolina restart looked good. But, like, that's ridiculous to do that to your organization. And then to come up there and say that you want a head coach to be there for 20 or 30 years is an insane thing to say. That happens, like, nowhere. If you look at New England, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh, maybe that's about it. It's just not going very well in Carolina. And if you're a Saints fan, you can take a little bit of solace in the fact that your rebuild doesn't have to climb to the top of the mountain just yet. You just got to beat these goofballs, and that's what's going on right now.
All right, last one here. Tiger Woods said today that he'd like to play one tournament a month in the 2024 season and that he thinks he can still win. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I'll leave it on both fronts. I don't think he's going to play a tournament a month, but I do think he will play in the majors and try to see if he can gut it out. He's walking better than he was last year when it looked like he couldn't walk at all. But I've kind of decided I don't think he's going to win again, and I don't think he's going to play once a month.
It says he still. You don't think he can still win. You don't think there's any way
I don't think his body can hold up for 4 days under those conditions. It would have to be at Augusta in terms of his golf, but that's the hardest walk. And then maybe on a flat place at the Open, but I just think his body's done. That's what I think. You got to be superhuman to win out there almost, and he was that for a long time. But at this age, it just doesn't happen. And
look, Hunt, if John Daly can win majors in his physical ability, I think Tiger can still do it.
It was a little bit different back then. But yeah, I would love it. I'll be glued if he can do it. I just am not gonna bet on it. You know what? I think LSU is gonna win in basketball tonight. I think they're gonna go to Syracuse, and I think they're gonna beat a mediocre Syracuse team that's rebuilding. That's my story here. That's mainly a hope pick and not one that's been deeply analyzed. If you want to hear about Syracuse's basketball team, we had a really good conversation in hour number 1 with Mike Waters from Syracuse.com. He kind of laid out what their team has been, a couple of key pieces to what they do. They may play some zone. They're going to play some man. LSU's going to have to shoot the ball pretty well in the Carrier Dome, quote unquote. And I think that Will Baker's got to have a really good night, but I hope that they can go up there and win. So you can catch that on demand. You can catch our segment with Glenn West of Go 24/7 on demand. And my picks from August on the SEC over-unders, where I went a nice 4-8 with some help from New Mexico State to get Auburn to the under. And then my thoughts on Malik Neighbors and the Biletnikoff Award. That's all in hour number 1. In hour number 2, open things up talking about the New Orleans Saints. I have quit on this era of Saints football. I do not believe it is salvageable at this point. I gave my thoughts there. I gave some thoughts on the SEC hirings in A&M and Mississippi State. You can go catch those on demand, as well as our conversation with Sharif Ishak. If you want our Saints content, Hunt on Saints is where you can find it on YouTube. You want our LSU content, Hunt on LSU is where you can find that on YouTube. Everything else, audio-wise, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. Excited for tomorrow's show, presented by Schneider's Golf Mechanics. We'll be talking LSU Syracuse. Get on by Pluckers and see us tonight. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.